Welcome, my dear students in Foundations of STEM Education for Teachers. Dr. Fatma Zhraa Salem, a professor in the Faculty of Education at Ain Shams University in the Foundations of Education department. Today, we are going to discuss a very important topic related to the best practices in STEM high school. Let us see the matter. The dollar question now is why best practices in STEM schools? This is very important questions and you should answer this according to the most important approaches and the philosophy of STEM schools. Firstly, active learning is part of the STEM schools and STEM education. This is active learning environment and social work is teamwork is as key response to the need for effective STEM education or learning. Investment in STEM education, this is very important to encourage yourself as a teacher and encourage your students to create something new to foster innovation and self-learning approaches and strategies. Learning experiences, this is very crucial to gather between the context and text too, together between the curriculum and syllabus and the environment, the context, and know the real equipments, materials that cover any subject for your students to context bound meet the individual needs of any subject. Number 4 is simulation. You should put your students into real experiment and to trial and the real situation. Put your students under real situations, real environment, and real experiment. Simulated laboratory experiences is part of your STEM education. Lastly, the PPL or the problem-based learning, you should encourage your students to problem-based learning and exploring the most important challenges and obstacles in front of solving problems, and they should solve their problems by or the context problems by themselves. This is very important and issue to encourage your students to solve their problems. So these are 5 key answers for these questions. This is why we need best practices in STEM schools, active learning, investment in STEM education, learning experience, simulation, and problem-based learning or PBL. Let's move to the most important 3 main pillars for STEM education best practices. So in order to practices or follow the best practices performance in your STEM learning, STEM education, you should follow these 3 main pillars or factors to STEM education best practices. Number 1, the idea. The idea should be may be problem finding. You find a specific problem in your field of study or in your STEM classes. The students should discover the problems. The students should solve the problem. So this is the idea. The method means here the approach, the techniques that you will depend on. So maybe generating ideas or thinking critically. By the way, the critical thinking is part of your STEM education, and you should encourage and boost your students upon this very important skills to learn these very important skills of critical thinking. So, or thinking critically. So, method here means the approach or the technique that you will use to solve this problem. So, maybe generating more ideas or creating more ideas or innovative ideas to solve the problem by using the critical thinking method. Also, the last thing is the value. So what is the value add? What is the important thing that I can conclude from my idea and from the method or the approach that I used to solve this problem. So the value may be curiosity or persistence. I need to achieve myself. I need my goal is to self actualization. So the value may be curiosity to achieve a specific goal in for my future, for my near and far future, or persistence to achieve myself and to be a human. So this is very important to know all these three main or key pillars for STEM best practices: the idea, the method, and the value. So these are in detail the ideas, the methods, and values. Let's see the first column, the ideas, problem finding, finding and validating evidence. You should support your ideas, your thoughts with evidence. This is very important. Questioning, ask all the time and use the WH questions. This is very important to gain more information or to get more information. And also you should propose new ideas and suggest new ideas. This is very important to proposing, designing and building your ideas according to your understandings and according to your goals and according to your evidence to support your ideas. This is very important. Then you should know and put your hand on the most important challenges and obstacles in front of you and how you can deal with these challenges and obstacles. So exploring and challenges, the ideas. These are the ideas, the methods or the approaches or techniques to achieve these ideas. Generating ideas, generating much more alternatives or solutions to your problem, processing information, how you can treatment with the data and how to transfer this data into information and knowledge, then wisdom. This is the cycle of the data or information, how to treat with the information and data, encoding and decoding information, how to send the messages and how the other people or your students receive these messages and understand these messages from you as a teacher. This is very important to know this process very well, and this is a very important skill that you should learn as a teacher. Firstly, to transfer this skill to your students too. So encoding and decoding information, send and receive the information. This is very important process. And the method, using appropriate language and vocabulary in your STEM education. You should know very well the most important technical terms in science, technology, mathematics, and engineering, and use it with your students with appropriate language that all of you can understand. Using tools to produce artifacts. This is very important. So what are the most important equipment and the materials to create something new, create the handmade materials or handmade things? This is very important to create the technical or the professional things that depends on your mind and your abilities and potentials. This is very important, using proper tools to produce or equipments or materials to produce artifacts with your hands. The last method and the very important method, again, thinking critically or using the critical thinking technique or method. So the last column is values. So what are the value add from all these ideas and by using these methods? Curiosity means here I need to achieve some goals and I am I am in my way to achieve my goals and my purposes. So this is curiosity. Fairness, you should be objective person and achieve justice and achieve your goals and use objective evidence to support your ideas. Imagination, your fancy, you create something new from all the or from given information. So you should use the imagination. Creativity. This is very important to propose innovative ideas and creative value. And this innovative idea or ideas will serve your community and serve your state. Teamwork is this part of your because the STEM education nature and philosophy based on the comprehensive work or teamwork or integrated work. So this part of your creativity to establish teamwork and good teamwork. This is very important. Persistence, you need to achieve yourself by your new creation and your new proposing ideas and solutions to your problem or your innovative project or innovative thing that you will do with your hands, with your minds, with your teamwork. This is very important. So the ideas, the methods, the values is the most important pillars to practice well and follow the best practices in your STEM schools. So as a teacher, how do you can achieve best practices in your STEM schools? Actually, there are 4 simple steps for STEM best practices. Number one, you should believe in your students. Believe in your students' skills and potentials. This is very, very, very important. Your students are able to achieve many things, so you should put into your consideration this idea. Set high expectation for your students. You should shed the light on your students' skills and please expect much more things from your students, much more achievements from your students. So set high expectations for your students, to challenge them to succeed and believe that they will able to achieve many things and foster and develop curiosity in your students. This is very important to believe in your students. Secondly, provide hands-on experiential learning or learning by doing or through reflection and doing. This is very important to uh, tie your students with the environment and with much more experiences based on the environment and the context surrounded. So provide hands-on experiential learning or learning by doing or through reflection and doing or praxis. Third, be positive and enthusiastic about what students are learning and how they are learning it. So be positive person, give them power, give them an energy as a teacher and enthusiasm them to achieve a lot of things, be encourageable person and encourage your students to achieve many things inside your classroom and inside your STEM classes. So be positive and the enthusiastic person about what students are learning and how they are learning it. How ask about the methods and the techniques that you used in your class and the students used to express their ideas. Accept failure. This is very important step, to accept the failure. And you as a teacher and as a student too, you should accept, because we learn from the mistakes, we learn from the failure. So accept the failure. Tell your students that we learn more from what we doing wrong than from what we doing right. So what we do wrong is more educative and more acceptable, because we make corrective actions, and we achieve many things from, and learn many things from failure. So tell your students that we learn more from what we do wrong than from what we do right. And in engineers, all the engineers, by the way, learn from their mistakes, and they correct and practice the corrective actions through their mistakes inside the context. In fact, failure is a necessary part of learning. The mistakes is part of your learning, and very necessarily thing to accept and to learn from your mistakes and from the failure. So we have 4 simple steps for STEM best practices. Number 1, believe in your students. Number 2, provide hands-on experiential learning or learning by doing. Number 3, be positive and enthusiastic about what students are learning. Accept failure, the last step. Actually, if you need to understand very well your ideas and your goals, you should firstly apply the backward design framework and know very well this framework. Firstly, the definition, you start from the end of your mind. You begin with the end in your mind. How? By determine the specific goals that you need to achieve. So you need to understand very well the goals. You need to understand the important key objectives that you need to achieve. To the definition, here you should start with the end, start with the goal, with your goals, with the end of your mind, with the end of your ideas. So begin with the end in mind, start with a clear understandings of your goals. This is very important. So there are 3 key steps to make or to conduct backward design. So identify first of all the results, the aims, the goals from your ideas. So identify desired results. So you should know very well the ILOs, or the intended learning outcomes that you need to achieve. Secondly, you should determine acceptable evidence. Based on your results, based on these goals, you should support your ideas with evidence, with clear evidence, with strong evidence, with applicable evidence, with smart evidence, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound evidence. So all these things, not weak evidence, not unrealistic evidence. No, we need to support our ideas with clear evidence, applicable evidence. Number 3, plan learning experiences and instructions. Very important to plan and to design and to put steps for the learning experiences that your students achieves and gain. So they gain specific learning experiences according to your goals and according to your methods and evidence and things that support your proposals and support your topics or your goals. So plan learning experiences and instructions, or the regulations or the rules that you should build and that your students follow to achieve the goals and gain more experiences from the content. So there are three key steps to achieve the backward design and to follow this valuable framework to know and to begin with the end of your mind and to know everything about your ideas and your topics and to achieve your goals. Number one, identify desired results or findings. Determine acceptable evidence, plan learning experiences, and instruction. It's time now for practice with your focus group. Show the key practices, the important practices within the STEM class. Please follow the following points. Number one, the key goals. So please establish or set the important goals that you need to achieve and that you need your students to achieve. Secondly, the desired results. You should put your hand on the desired results that you will achieve after STEM class. Number three, the evidence-based. So support your ideas, support your topics with evidence and strong evidence. Learning experiences is part of your STEM class and part from your best practices in your class to obtain and to gain your students with much more experiences and much more real skills. So this is very important. So what are the experiences that your students gain or obtain? The last thing is the approaches that you use to achieve your goals and your results. So the approaches, methods, materials, or equipments or tools that the students and you used to achieve the goals and to let your students obtain much more experiences and skills from your STEM education and learning. Please cover all these five steps or 5 points to show and to explore the key practices inside your STEM class. Having me in this lecture, Dr. Fatma Zhraa Salem with you, a professor in the Faculty of Education at Ain Shams University. Please keep in your smile because you deserve to be an optimistic person all the time and to transfer as a teacher in STEM education this smiling to your students. Thank you so much. Bye bye. See you in the next lecture, inshallah. Bye bye.